All right, so most people think you need a landscape design degree or some type of college education in order to get into landscape design, but I'm here to tell you that that's totally a lie. Me personally, I don't have any type of landscape degree or any type of college that helps me in landscape design. So me pretty much, I started out with nothing and I built a landscape design business to where we work on projects 150K and up. We do some smaller end jobs which are really good, but we are typically a company who is known for high end designs. So in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how I got into landscape design, exactly what took me to the next level, what how I made this decision to get into landscape design, and ultimately what took me to the next level. So we're going to go through how I found my first opportunity, how I learned fast, and just what you guys can do to take your landscape design or even just start the company, get it off the ground, and just maybe just start working on those bigger projects too. We break down a lot of these things in my school group. So if you're someone who is trying to learn landscape design or want to further your education and learn how to sell design, learn how to lead the clients, learn how to manage expectations, we break that down in our school group. But today we're pretty much going to start from scratch on how I did what I did. So if I'm gonna tell you guys this story, I'm gonna have to take it way, way back, way back. So when I was around, and I may get some numbers wrong here. So when I was around 27, 28, I'm 33 now. So when I was around 27, 28, I was going through a midlife crisis. I'm like, man, I'm supposed to be rich by now. I'm not rich. I really need to figure something out. I was mainly working warehouse jobs back then. So pretty much from 18 all the way to 28, I was working warehouse jobs. I was never good with keeping a job, but I was good at the jobs. So I was always good with my hands. I was always good at working, but I could never keep a job because I just one of those guys who couldn't follow the systems and follow, what needed to be done. But I could hit my numbers. I was one of those workers where you just tell me what to do and I'll pretty much go do it. I could pretty much handle it. But for me, my mindset back then, it wasn't growing. I was pretty much okay with my work check. There's nothing wrong with a work check, but me personally, I want better. I know I'm meant for more. So I was going through a midlife crisis. I'm like, man, I got to figure something out. So I wound up getting another job. And so I wound up getting another job. I was working overnights, but I was also doing landscaping in the morning time. So landscaping was always like my way to get some money in my pocket when I was younger, when I was a kid, when I was a teenager in high school. I can always know that if I go cut some grass or shovel some snow, I can make a couple $100s in a day, which ultimately I met this guy who told me like, yeah, Craig, you need to start doing flyers. Like I met this random guy. He used to always be around the neighborhood, knocking trees down and cutting grass. Or if I went to a house, this guy was always the one who was cutting the grass, like if I didn't get the job and stuff like that. So I talked to him one day. He talked to me. He was like, yeah, man, you need to just start making flyers and put them on the doors. So that's when I started doing that. So that's how I was able to generate, maybe a few $100s a week. So fast forward to 27, 28. When I got this job, I was also doing landscaping in the morning time. So I was passing out my flyers. I was doing the leg work. I'll go to the library. I'll print out maybe 1,000 flyers, 2,000 flyers, and we cut grass. We do mulch, plants, this and that. And I will go and I will pass these out around the neighborhood. So while I was doing that in the morning, I was working night shift. So night shift, I'll go clock in, I will work. But remember, I was doing landscaping all morning, so I'm really tired. So I'm like, man, it's not gonna work for me. I'm at work, I'm doing a great job, but it's overnight. I'm hallucinating. I just been laying side and landscaping and things like that. This is 2019, 2020. And I'm like, man, you know what? I'm going to Matter of fact, my landscaping checks were starting to be bigger than my landscaping checks were starting to be bigger than my work checks. And also the girl who I was talking to back then, she was pregnant. The child didn't make it, but she was pregnant back then. And I couldn't be there for her with the child while she was pregnant because I was at work or I was always, in the field doing landscaping. So I said, you know what? I need to make a decision. So I decided to take landscaping serious. I didn't have any education in it. I didn't know how to price things. I didn't know how to do anything. I just took the leap of faith. And I said that, you know what, I'm gonna take this seriously. I basically bet on myself. I didn't have any savings. I didn't have any backup plan. I left a really good job. Well, technically, I mean, really good job, quote unquote. I think I was making like 23 an hour, and I just took that and I went landscaping. That last work check that I got, I went and bought a lawnmower and just some weed whackers and trimmers and things like that. So I pretty much invested in myself. So then that's when my landscaping career started getting a lot bigger. So this is why I chose landscaping because I just wanted better for myself. I wanted to make my own way. Fast forward, I started posting my stuff in landscape groups. I started posting my things in, let's see, I started posting my stuff on landscaping groups. I started posting my stuff on social media. People started finding me. Now the ball is rolling and things like that. So now this is around this time. So at this moment, let's see here. So at this moment, I'm pretty much I'm landscaping. I'm doing whatever type of jobs I can get. I am doing mulch. As you see here, I'm doing things like mulch jobs. I'm doing things like trees. I'm in trees, don't know what the hell I'm doing. I just know I need a boom lift and a chainsaw. I remember sometimes where the chainsaw kept breaking, and what I would do is I would take it back to Home Depot, tell them that the saw didn't work, get another saw, and basically whenever the chain broke, I would just keep doing that. And eventually they got tired of it, so I had to go to Lowe's. Lowe's finally caught on, then I finally just made the decision to just look on YouTube, see how to fix a chainsaw chain, and I wound up learning how to fix it. Here's another job we did. I was doing like clean outs, pretty much maintenance jobs, anything I get my hands on really, because, now I don't have a job. Now landscaping has to work. And then this is my first truck I bought for around 500. It was a beater, but it got me exactly to where I needed to go. And it helps. So if you guys are in landscaping, you got to start in the trenches. You got to start with these cheaper trucks, at least something to get around, something that works. And then fast forward, this was my first $5,000 job here. I didn't know what I was doing. This is some artificial turf that we just laid on sand. We didn't broom it. We didn't do anything to it. We just straightened out the sand with some shovels and laid down the turf. Here we attempted to do a patio. My guys, I would just go get some guys from my neighborhood and they'll come out there, help me work on these projects. This one is a project in Gary where we actually had to clean out and they wanted us to just pretty much come clear the backyard. I was undercharging. I was underbidding. I didn't know how to price these big jobs, but I was getting them. To me, I was making money. I didn't know my numbers, but that's okay. When you first starting out, there's nothing wrong with that as long as you have the ball rolling. So let's fast forward. Oh, we'll get to that in a minute. So that's pretty much where I was starting. I was trying to get as many jobs as I could. I'm out in the field, I'm learning and things like that. And eventually I hired some guys. So I hired some guys from Indeed, and these guys were mostly known for I found them on Indeed. What happened was these guys, they told me, Craig, we don't like doing things like mulch and maintenance and landside and cutting down trees. We don't like doing this type of things. We like doing patios, brick pavers. We like, doing things with our hands as far as building. So I said, okay, fine. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna start selling paver jobs. So I started selling these paver jobs. Paver jobs start coming in, but then I noticed I started getting a lot of callbacks. Hey, Craig, these pavers are sinking. And at this time, my company name was Garden Tree. That was my first company, Garden Tree LLC. So I started getting a lot of callbacks. Hey, Craig, these pavers are sinking. My patio is falling apart. You just put it in. What's going on? So I'm asking I don't know what's going on because I don't lay pavers. I don't know what's going on at the moment. I don't build fire pits. So I wound up taking a class, and that class was Cruise Line. And that's where he taught me how to float concrete. He taught me how to build patios. I pretty much do these things with my hands. So I wind up finding out that these guys wasn't building anything right. They wasn't leveling anything. They was pretty much just building off faith. And I wish I had some of those older projects. I just have to find them. But and in the school group, I also show you guys how to find better people. So before this, I learned that they wasn't doing it right. So I wound up firing those guys. And when I learned how to actually do it myself, then I actually went and got in the field. So here I'm doing things like I built this full patio here, these steps. This was my first time building something with steps. And as you can see, this doesn't line up. So this is like right here. This turned into here. But on these pictures, we wanted to have this thing straight. I learned to build from the bottom when you're building these long staircases. I didn't know about elevation, so I learned that all on this project. So what happened was I started the build. The stairs didn't line up with the front door. So I just took all that time to build these stairs from the sidewalk to the front door, and I get to the front door and this doesn't line up and the elevation isn't correct. When you come out the door, it was probably like 11-inch drop. So I had to rip it out. I called a couple guys to come help me out. We got the elevations down packed. And that's why it's very important to invest in your craft. It's important to pay for these mentorships. It's important to go to these hardscape mentor collaboration classes. It's important to go to Cruise Line Hardscape University because you're getting the knowledge, you're getting the experience. You don't have to learn in the field anymore. You have these classes where they teach you exactly how to do these things. And since I had this back then, now I know how to build these projects on my own. It's gonna take a little work, it takes a little repetition, but eventually you'll get it. So it's very important to invest in your craft. So if you're just now starting out, don't be afraid to pay these mentors. Don't be afraid to join these groups. This is the cost of doing business. If you don't want to learn over time, kind of like how I started out doing, you can go pay these guys for the information. So things like joining my school group, things like joining Hardscape Mentor, things like going to Cruise Line Hardscape University where you can actually get the hands-on experience. That's what took me to the next level ultimately. So as you can see here, the business started growing, I went out, we built this patio here. This was a nice $40,000 patio. I wound up investing in some equipment. You can see my garden tree shirt here. And we invested in our first machine, which was the E20. And I do break down exactly how you guys can get business credit to get these machines, because when you get into these bigger jobs, you're going to need machinery. I tried to build these jobs with just a shovel. You're going to need more guys, you're going to need more tools, and it's going to take more time. But when you start getting machinery, it's going to take less guys, less time, more profit. So that's the ultimate thing that we're going for, the profit. We just don't want to look like a profitable company. We want to actually be a profitable company, complete quality jobs, and we want to get in and get out. So just more into the journey. Here's one where, the patio is pretty bare and here I pretty much designed this one on paper. So here we got the cedarwood pergola with a redwood pergola. We got some steppers over here just for a nice table. We have some plants over here. This one came out really nice, and this is when I started to sub out my projects. So now that we're getting bigger, we don't know how to do everything now. And remember, I'm just learning this just as I'm going. No college, no architecture degree and things like that. I'm pretty much just learning as I'm going. I would say this is maybe 2021. So on this project, we subbed it out, and now we only hire contractors who own companies where they can do all of the work instead of us finding a subcontractor. So now we don't sub out anymore. This project exactly, the guy I paid to build this pergola, he did it wrong. This pergola has, you can't see it, but there's a type of roof on here that's supposed to keep the water out. He didn't build this pergola on a pitch. He didn't add any pitch, so that water was pretty much sitting on top. And guess what happened? You already know. The water caved down. Luckily, there was no family there. Luckily, nobody was under the paver, but it was a bad storm, and it's pretty much all caved in. The wood broke, some of the wood broke and things like that. So we had to go in and we had to get another guy to pretty much rebuild that. So at that point, I just knew that's what comes with subbing things out if you guys don't know how to do it. So fast forward to our first design. This is a design that I did on UVision. I want to say it was 2021. And it was pretty much, it was really simple. It was pretty much just a patio space, fire pit, some steppers here, retaining wall, and we resodded the full yard. So as you can see, eventually this full yard was resodded. And this was my first big job. That was my first $10,000 job. And they came in with a budget of 2,500, but when I designed the yard and I showed them, this is how your yard could look. This is what you guys want based off what you told me. You want to spend time in the backyard. You want it to look visually appealing. This is what you guys want. This is a bit higher than what you're expecting. If you want to stay around 2,500, I can design you something for that. But based off what you told me, this is what you want in your backyard. And they said, okay, let's do it. So we signed, we started the work. So I had my guys come out, build, and guess what? Now that we're getting into these new projects, there's new rules, now these bigger projects. For this one, I wasn't familiar with permits until the city came on this job and shut it down. So that's when I was introduced to, you have to have a permit to put these patios in, sometimes a retaining wall. So they came in, they shut it down. They said, Craig, you need paperwork for this. So I went and got the paperwork. We pretty much finished the job, but this was my first $10,000 job. And remind you, this is just people finding me online, social media, Facebook groups, and they're trusting me because I'm posting these projects and they're trusting me to go in and put the work in. Here's a picture with me, Dan Preston, we got Noah and Cruise Line, just some guys who really helped shape my career and things like that. So let's get into the job that took my landscape design career to another level. Let's go back. Here's a design. Here's the project we did where they shut it down. This is actually, they came in, they put yellow tape, had it looking like a crime scene. Why, I don't know. I guess they didn't want people to run into it, but that's pretty much what it looked like when they shut it down. But we ultimately got that project built. I share some information on that in our school group too. And here's the pictures with me, Preston. We got Noah here. Noah's doing great in real estate right now. And then we got Cruise Line here, just some guys who really shaped my career when it comes to this. So let's go into how we pretty much took our designs to the next level. So I get a call from a client and they pretty much just wanted me to, come up with a design for them. Well, not really a design, but they wanted me to come in and just fix up the backyard. So after taking Cruise Line class, this is 2022. After taking Cruise Line class, this is 2022 or 2023. Mind you, I'm just getting started in this. After taking Cruise Line class, he teach you about selling. He teach you about designing. I didn't know anything about that back then. I didn't go to college for it. I didn't go to school. I didn't have any type of education on these type of things. I just had the experience and working through. So just imagine just you yourself. Let's say if you're just now starting out, then imagine paying someone like me or paying someone who's, a higher up in the industry and getting all the answers. You don't have to get jobs shut down. You don't have to have builds go bad or clients calling back. You get all the answers. You get years and years of experience. So if I meet somebody with maybe 30 years of experience with the industry, I don't mind paying them $10,000 or $5,000 for those answers, because that's the reason why I'm excelled now. I learned all this in 2 years. I went from zero, a couple $100 projects to $400,000 projects in the span of 2 to 3 years. And that's not normal, but that happens when you invest in your craft, you pay mentors, and you're not afraid to spend that money. So just to jump back into this one, this client found us and they ultimately wanted us to come in and just, fix the backyard up. They wanted to keep the pool. They wanted to, just throw some patio. They did want a basketball court, but, it wasn't in the budget at the time. And also they wanted to, just freshen it up, do some landscape and stuff like that. So I said, you know what? we need a design for this project. And to even come out and create something to get visual, we have to have a design. We can't walk this property and give you something that you'll ultimately love without breaking everything down first. So this is where I sold my design for 2,500. This was the second design I sold. Mind you, on the first design with UVision, I sold that design for $1,000. I sold that design for $1,000 because I didn't know people weren't charging for designs. I thought everybody was charging for designs. I just said, you know, I'll do it a little cheaper. I'll do it for 1,000. But now I know that people aren't. There aren't. Now I know that people aren't charging for designs, and a lot of those guys are in my school group, and we're teaching them how to actually be financially supported, basically to get people to pay for these designs because it's its own entity. It's not construction, it's a separate price. So a lot of guys are coming in who don't think they can charge for designs, and we are actually teaching them how to charge for designs. We actually just had a project where I just talked to a client where someone in my group, because we do the sales and we do the designs for a lot of the guys. So a guy in the group had a client where he said, you know what, I think you need a design. He put him in tune with myself. We went in, we sold the design for 1,500. Super small, really simple design. But that just goes to show you that you can be a brand new company. If you have a beast of a salesperson on your team, they can go in and they can sell these designs. So you don't have to think, since I just started, I can't sell designs, or I just started, people won't pay me top dollar for a design. They will. You just have to know exactly how to explain it. You have to have the information behind it. And in our school group, we give you the information on how to sell these designs, how to get top dollar for your time. Because imagine you put in all these hours. Imagine you put in all these hours and time into the design and you don't get the project. Now you're out of hours, you're out of time, you have a nice design that didn't get sold, and it's pretty much you just asked out pretty much. So we sold the design 2,500. Their budget was 50,000, 50 to 60,000, and they pretty much told me what they wanted. I listened, and I learned that when you're listening to a client, it's a lot of things that they aren't saying, and that's what you have to listen for. So we went in, I listened to the client, and I got the understanding. Okay, 50,000, I'm gonna give this person 2 designs. And the funny thing about this project was when I had sold the design, I didn't have the software that I use for this design. So at first I was using UVision, but for this design, I used Structure Studios. And with Structure Studios, it's a bit more complicated, but I sold the design and I knew I needed this one to look nice. So I sold the design and I went and bought Structure Studios with that design money. And I locked myself in a room and I learned it, pretty much just YouTube videos and things like that. So I went back to the client. We had our first meeting. I had them fill out a questionnaire for him so I can get some more information. Then we went back to our first meeting after we got that first design done. I came back with 2 designs. 2. What the first design I came back with was what they wanted. And that was that 50K design. Pergola, it wasn't as outstanding as what I think they wanted. And what I think they wanted, that came out to 200 grand. And I knew was exactly what they wanted. I told them, I'm going to show you these designs. You're not going to like the first one. What you want, you're not going to like it. What I think you want and what I think you were trying to explain is what you want, but it's over budget, and it's super over budget. So I had the meeting with them. That came out to 200 grand. And I left it with them. We had the meeting in person. And I left. They said, you know what, we're going to think about it. They give me a call back like 2 days later and they said, we want to go with the bigger project. Let's make some tweaks. I said, okay. And that's the power of design. If I would have went in and I would have just came and walked around the property and just said, we could put some trees here, patio here, I'm not selling them or anything. And I'm not trying to sell them on anything. I'm trying to help them bring their goals and vision to life. Sometimes a client don't know exactly what they want, but they do know that they want a backyard that they can grow with and their kids can grow with too. I can't give you that vision through walking around the property. So I have to create a design for this. And that's the power of design. Design is what took me to the next level. So just to give you a bit of the story, I'm going to break this down maybe another time, this full project, about what happened, what went wrong, what went right, who came and helped me on the project, how did it finally get completed. We're going to break this project down pretty much from start to finish. And it's very interesting. And just starting out in the industry, if you are starting out, or even if you are in the industry, you're going to learn a lot from this, who to trust, who not to trust, because a lot of people wanted this project. A lot of people didn't want me to build this project, even so-called mentors. But so just to show you guys a few pictures. So this is pretty much what we started with. And this is what we ended up with. We came in, we put the fire pit, lights, plants, outdoor kitchen, living room area, full basketball court because she does have 2 kids. And ultimately, this is how the project turned out. The first $200,000, the $200K came from just this area, pretty much just this area. The outdoor kitchen, the bar wasn't attached, upper patio, retaining walls, plants, fire pit, things like that. But by the time we started, it's a lot in this picture that's not in the design. But when we actually came in with the change orders for the basketball court, the walkway here, and just a bit more things that aren't on this side of the house, then that's when we came in, and they absolutely came in to like, $380K, but we just gonna say 400,000 for the video. And yeah, so this is why design is so important. And mind you, I'm building and I'm selling these jobs with no degree, no college education, no architecture status or anything like that. You're learning through trial and experience. Now, I can tell you that as we are getting into these builds now we have to hire people like engineers, architects, people that come out and take care of the soil so we can know what could be built, what could be planned, what type of engineering we need and things like that. Now we are getting into that, but you don't have to have that experience. You can hire these people when we finally do get to this level. So just to jump into some more designs. So here are our designs now. So remember, I started pretty much just cutting grass and doing a bit of maintenance properties. Now we're designing all over the world. No degree, no license or anything like that. Here's a project we did and we designed in Michigan. And this one is built by the Nunez Outdoor Living. We sell and we do some designs for them. So this one came out really nice. This one here is in California. Pretty much these 3 here are in California. I chose these because I think these are some of our best designs. For here, we like the Cortine steel. We love the concrete retaining walls and just boxwoods to just make it look really good. Have basketball courts so the kids can come out and play. For this one, we have the Infinity Edge pool, sunken outdoor kitchen / fire pit, just so these guys can come in, they can walk down here, they can cook, go back up. Some would say it's not practical, but I think it's pretty cool. And then this one here, just with the lighting, we took this project from start to design. I want to say they went with another company who has some cheaper pricing for the construction, but that's fine, as long as our vision is being completed. And I don't mind if a client comes to us for a design and someone else builds it because I own the intellectual whatever. It's 2026, and that's pretty much, intellectual property is pretty much, I would say, dead in the designer style, unless you're doing things like art and some type of software and things like that. But, I honestly don't care. And so, yeah, so we went in, we did some podcasts with Tigran, with Emmanuel. Here's another one, who makes more money, designer or contractors. And in this field, I learned that you have to choose one thing, one or the other. If you want to be a designer, be a designer. If you want to be a contractor, be a contractor. When I was trying to be a contractor and a designer, designing is kind of its own thing, presenting it, selling it, coming up with the ideas, seeing what's available. That takes time. There's no way possible you can excel as a designer and still be in the field at the same time. So that's just something that I want to tell you guys. And when I actually decided to switch over to design only, that's when everything started clicking, because now I can focus on it. So You don't have to make that decision right up front, but you do want to eventually figure that out. And so stats, these are our stats now. First year designing full time, we closed $2.5 million in projects. We closed 500K in design fees. Right now we have 7 designers. We design for over 50 contractors because we do design for contractors all over. And we also design for the clients who come to us. And we help tons of contractors who hit their first million by building them a design system. So since design took me to the next level, now I copy and paste that into business with a few tweaks here and there. And I give them a system where they can ultimately use this design to take their company to the next level, because design is leadership. Design is where it all starts. And I teach that because it happened for me. This is exactly how I scaled. So now I teach other people how to do this. And it's crazy. It's actually insane that it works for every single company that we work with. So, so that's pretty much how I started in landscaping, and that's where I'm at now. Right now, we're on the move to do $1 million a month. And of course, that comes with time, that comes with repetition, that comes with implementing different things, but that's ultimately the goal. In business, you have to know where you're going, because if you're just waking up, just doing something that works for now, you'll wind up lost, you'll wind up with wasted time and things like that. So that's our ultimate goal. We're going to do that a lot of different ways. I covered that in my first video. But yeah, if you guys have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. Join the school group so we can dive into your business one-on-one and just see how we can help you build it as far as a design side. And yeah, I'm here to help.